Good morning, everybody. Hello.
Good morning.
Let me begin by making a small
Morning.
suggestion to those of you who are most generous. Um, I would love it if you put your cameras on. So I want to say something about that. If this class is best when we create some kind of community environment. And frankly, as a teacher, I teach best to people. It's much harder to teach to little gray boxes. On the other hand, if you're just incredibly shy and just must have your camera off, or your camera isn't working, which I can understand, don't feel obliged. I'm not forcing anyone. I'm just saying it is going to be more fun if we could see each other, because after a while, you'll start to get to know each other. Good morning. I'm getting some chats. Um, uh, it'll definitely be best for our environment if our cameras are on. So we're people instead of boxes, you know. So again, just to repeat, if you're having the world's worst hair day of all time and you want your camera off for the day, I understand. Right. A quick couple words about the mics. Um, about the microphones, you can leave them on if your house isn't noisy and you will just want the freedom to just talk back and forth. You can leave them on. On the other hand, if there's noise at the house or you're hearing feedback every time you turn on the mic, by all means, you can keep them off and just turn them on when you want to talk to me. So it looks right now that there's only 14 of us in the room, and I do believe there's quite a few more people in the class that are probably finding their way right now. Let me just get a quick peek at the chats. I see someone's having breakfast, and that's a good reason, I suppose. Not everyone likes to be stared at while they're chowing. All right, so listen, folks. Let me get a couple quick things out of the way. Is someone trying to talk to me? Maybe you're cutting in and out a little. Can you guys hear me all right? No?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So I want to say a little bit about this class before we get into the official stuff. One, the class is about as cool as it gets. If you're sincere about your interest in animation, you're gonna have to love this class, right? So I want to get that out of the way. I'm a multimedia artist. That means I do teach multimedia classes. I may have met some of you before in my own multimedia class. Is that someone's kid? I'm hearing a voice now and then. So again, if you've got noise in the room, please turn mute your mic. All right, the subject is fabulous. Learning how to take drawings and make them move, it's just magic. It has been magic and it will always be magic. So that's pretty great. I want to say something else. I'm very, very friendly. So far, I'm not recognizing names. I'm not great with that. I'm hoping some people know me from MMP100. Hello. And this is Tiffany, by the way, over here. Tiffany is my assistant for this class, who knows the class real well at this point.
Hi.
You made it. I'm so glad. I was supposed to reach out to her before class and only reached out like a half an hour ago. We'll be leaning on Tiffany for support, and she and I are going to talk at some point to figure out how best to offer it. So right now it's just an introductory lecture for the moment. So let me back up for a minute. The class is fun, but it's intense. I really have to be honest about that. Fun, but intense fun. It's not an easy class by any stretch of the imagination. I really want to be frank about that. That's not meaning that anyone should be afraid of it. It just means that prepare to be devoted to the subject. And I will say a little bit more about that, to be fair, here. But I do want to segue to something. So my name is Ira Epstein, and I prefer to be called Ira. Just feel free to call me first name basis Ira. If it makes you more comfortable to call me Professor or Mr. Epstein, you can do that. But I do prefer you just call me Ira, right? Why? frankly, you're my tribe. I'm just interested in working with young creatives, just the way the older creatives worked with me when I was young, and the way you will hopefully help people when you move forward through your career and your creative life. So this isn't about a me and them kind of thing, or any of the usual patterns of what you expect from school. This is very much about my interest in helping you be more creative, more able, more ready for action, and more comfortable with the specific subject of animation. We're going to go over here a bunch of details today and a bunch of things that I just want to get out of the way. I really want to work together. So we're going to head as swiftly as possible to that. So I want to just add a couple basic ideas. So yeah, the class is Intro to 2D Animation. An introduction does not mean light. It definitely isn't going to be light. We're going to start kind of light, a little bit light, and it's going to get progressively more intense. And by the time we get to week 10, week 11, we're going to be into some pretty deep places together as a group. So what can I recommend in the way of succeeding? Well, come to every class. Don't miss even one class. And I want to say something to people that have obstacles to being here at 9 on Friday. But right now, I want to talk to those of you with every intention of showing up. Again, if all goes well, we're going to create a kind of shared momentum. It could be a real head rush when you start to recognize what people are doing and saying, and we're on the same team. Of course, we're individuals with individual goals and individual visions, but at the same time, we are a community. Let's face it. You see the way communities behave all the time. How do the Democrats behave? How do the Republicans behave? How do the local church? The thing is, there's a power behind community. So I want to use that. Be here, join that energy. Now I want to say something else about this online class. I'm recording every class. So that basically means there is a plan B. Every class, again, if you should notice any kind of feedback, you're hearing echoes of me, it may be your mic. You could turn your mic on and off so people are not hearing that little echo. You should just be able to click way at the bottom where it says mute, turn your mic on and off. Plan B, of course, let's say you just can't make it to class on a given day. In my opinion, I want you to use Plan B as only if you have to, but there's a playlist for this class. So every single class is going to be posted, with some luck, 1 hour after the live class is over. Or, why do I say with luck? I'm at the mercy of Zoom, which is rather overwhelmed. I don't think Zoom was prepared for the entire planet to be using it at once, especially during the new fall semester. So yesterday, it took like 3 hours for Zoom to cook the video. It was pretty maddening. And then I have to deal with YouTube, which likes to cook the videos a second time, and that could take an additional hour. So sometime later today, the video of this exact class is going to go online. And there's going to be one link that you could get to anytime you want to rewatch a class, to look for a subject during the class that you didn't quite understand, fast forward, rewind your way around. It's fantastic. So I have to say that the ultimate plan is to come live, see what you can get with me while you have a chance to ask me questions. I'm going to be demonstrating everything that I talk about. And to be fair, I don't even like the term demonstrate because you're going to be joining me. The whole idea is I'm going to say, okay, everybody, we're going to explore this technique now. Please open up a file this size and we're going to run at this frame rate. Animation talk going on here. And today we're going to learn how to do turnarounds, For example, it's no easy thing to make somebody turn around. Or a walk cycle, with a little bit of luck, someone talking, matching the audio by the end of the semester. So a lot's going to go on in the class. You're going to have questions, and the best way to ask questions is to be here live. Um, we're going to be looking at the handout together pretty soon, and so I can get into some detail about what we need to really move forward. But I want to address some practical things that we could make use of. You know, what if your job keeps calling you and you got to keep working during my class? You know, is that acceptable? You know, right now it's acceptable. It's not preferable, but it's acceptable. So I want to tell you exactly what I mean. I have been teaching forever. I've had 4,000 students. I've taught in a number of schools, and I've been doing this since I was younger than almost everyone in the room. I started too young. So I know what success is made of at this point, and you know how a student can get what they came for, what I need to do, and what you need to do for this to work. And it definitely works best in person. So historically, I was super strict about attendance. You know, historically, you know, you miss a couple classes, you just failed. And I let you know really early so you could choose whether to keep coming anyway. Anyone fails, I let them keep coming. Just gives them an advantage next time. I was strict about it because I just knew what success takes. But that was before I started videotaping, you know? So the doors opened up a little bit. It's just that, you know, you have a question and you're watching the video, what are you going to do? Office hours? Well, my office hours are right after class. You know, there's no way I could spread them out around people's schedules, personal schedules. That just doesn't work. What else? Well, you could email me questions, you know, and I will do my best to get back to you quickly. But, you know, life is tough, right? So the best way is to come in person. All right. I want to address a couple other things, and I'm going to do some screen sharing. I do want to say a couple words to everybody here. You know, if you wouldn't mind, those of you who've changed your name to just first name, someone had Pizza Lover as their name before. That really doesn't work for school. I really need your first and last name. I'm going to be grading you, right? You know, so I need to know who you are. So please, when you have the chance, change your first name on your gray box to your whole name, or any nicknames. Please resort to your actual name. I'm working with you here, but I want to make sure that I know who you are as soon as possible. All right, so again, just call me Ira, and I want to show you how this is going to work. So I hope everybody found it easy to get to IraWorks today and found it pretty easy to find the Class 1 handout. So what you're going to see is Class 2 handout next Friday, and Class 3, all the way up to Class 15. This class is long. You know, we're slated from 9 to 12:40, so it's almost a 4-hour long class, which is going to be kind of exhausting. And I want to address as many issues today as possible. Okay, before we look at the handout together, which helps me also go over all the details, I do want to, you know what, let's just jump in. I'm going to go right ahead and do that. I'm going to screen share right now. All right. So here we are at the handout, and every Friday you're going to show up just before 9, right? So you can get that day's handout, right? By the way, I'm sure some of you checked out the syllabus, which was also on iraworks.com/bmcc. But to be honest with you, the syllabus is really boring, and they're always really boring. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know today. So if you want to look it over, look it over. You can get a good idea what's coming up a few weeks down the road. But these are called the daily handouts or the daily schedule, and these always win. So if our schedule changes for some reason, a snow day, a new disaster, or tech problems, or maybe we're going extra fast, I'm going to keep updating these. So here's today. All right, classes from 9 to 12:40. So this is one of the things I want to say about that. I'm a bit greedy as a teacher. So I really don't like letting people out early. I like squeezing in a lot of information. And I've been teaching for 30 years, more than 30 years. Yeah. And I'm still learning. So I'm willing to rethink that. The school's giving me, allowing me to shorten this class if it seems in your best interest. And I'm seriously going to think about that. I'm not going to do it for me, but I may do it for you. As it stands, the class is 9 to 12:40. So every Friday, just before 9, you're going to visit this link, ironworks.com, and get that particular handout and leave it out in front of you. Quick word about that, right? If you were just listening to me lecture or watching demonstrations, you could do this on a phone, or you could do it on a tablet, like an iPad. But I don't really want you to take the class that way. Today, that's fine. Really, today, that's fine. But as soon as possible, I want us to be making stuff together. And so you're going to need to be on a computer, and I'm going to talk about that in some detail pretty soon. I'm intending to keep this same link for every week's Zoom conference. You know, one thing that I have to keep checking, because Zoom changed their rules last week. And one of the things that I'm not used to is having to admit people manually. Yesterday, people were in a waiting room, all this stuff that I'm really not used to, and I had to keep going to the waiting room to let people in. I tried to change it, it seemed to work. All right, anyway, the way it stands, this is gonna be the same link each week. It will be on every handout, but if you like keeping stuff around, that's the link. Hey, by the way, guys, if anyone has a question while I'm talking, feel free just to turn your mic on. People who prefer to chat me, I just want to warn you, I'm not so good with chat. Tiffany, do you mind keeping an eye on the chats for me? Okay, so if you can answer it, answer it. If not, turn on your mic, let me know, and I'll join in. It's just hard to watch everything at once, so the chats are not my top pick, but you could use them if you prefer. Okay, so that's it for Zoom. I want to get to a much bigger topic, which is about working at home. So I got to say a couple things about this, and I really want to be blunt. Most digital art, most art that takes place on a computer requires a kind of pumped up computer. At a bare minimum, you want either a reasonable quality Mac or a reasonable quality computer running Windows. I need to talk about Chromebooks and what other options there are, but can I just start with Macs or Windows? When I say reasonable quality, basically a computer that you bought in the last 2-3 years is probably fine. I'm on a laptop right now that's 5 years old, but it's a super powerful MacBook Pro. So even though it's 5 years old, it's still behaving rather nicely. So if you've got a Mac on you, it's probably good enough. If you've got something running Windows on you and it's not ancient, it's probably good enough. About Chromebooks. You know, first off, can I ask you guys a question? And I also want to just say something in general. I'm getting a look at everybody right now. So look, if you chose to not turn your video on, I'm going to ask you to rethink that and turn it on. Unless you're the kind, you know, every class I get one kid who likes a sweatshirt tied around his face. He's looking through a little portal at the universe. You know, it used to drive me crazy, but I realized some people are just painfully shy, and they might be amazingly brilliant. So I've started to, you know, be open-minded about it. So if you're in that category, all right, leave the camera off, or you don't have a camera, you have no choice. You're going to want to try to find those little emojis. What are they called? Some of you guys use them, you know, where you get to give me thumbs up.
You had the right emojis.
The
Reactions, right? I don't know why I don't get them on my end for some strange reason. Maybe the host doesn't get them. I don't know why. But I'm going to ask you now and then to give me thumbs up about stuff, or you can give me emoji thumbs up, like Marilia just did. All right, I got a question for you. And don't be shy about this, because I want to work with everybody, whatever kind of device you're on, or if you need a device from the school. How many of you guys already have, right now, a Mac or Windows computer you're intending on using for this class? Can you either give me a physical thumbs up or something similar with a reaction? So that's the majority
I have a potato here, but yeah, it still works.
It's still hanging in there?
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, is my voice cutting out a lot?
No,
Right.
Kinda.
it's fine.
Kind of. So like, I can never tell whether it's, on your end, internet connection or whether it's Zoom. I'm highly suspecting that Zoom is overtaxed. Because yesterday I peeked at the chats and a bunch of people was like, what happened to him, because he froze. That's me just kidding around. I didn't just freeze. But the other day,
Professor, that happens when it's when the computer or the system for Zoom is over capacity, because that used to happen to me all last year.
did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Zoom's in over their head. It's like 2 minutes before Google buys Zoom. Whenever someone's huge, but they're 10 times huger, they try to buy them. I'm not going to get all political about the dangers of that, but they have the power. You know what I mean? Zoom, Google could get this to stream properly. Anyway, back to it. Where was I? Oh yeah. So look, so most of you sound like you've got Macs or Windows, so that's going to help out. If you have a Chromebook and you're intending on doing this on a Chromebook, listen guys, I want to be very blunt with you, right? This is like one adult talking to a bunch of adults, right? Our school and every school is been in a mad race for months now to figure out how to teach classes like this that require a lot of technology to people at home who might not currently have that technology or the money for that technology. The economy is in big trouble. It's all kinds of people that just can't whip out the cash and buy themselves a new computer right now, or a better internet connection, or the software that we're going to need. So there's been a number of things going on as schools try to grapple with it. The first wave was getting everybody iPads, which doesn't help my classes at all. There's nothing you could do in my classes with an iPad except for watch me talk, which is going to get pretty lame. For anybody who wants to join me, you have to be on a real computer. So the second wave was Chromebooks. And it was amazing to see our culture give these things away, the Board of Ed even. But, it worked for lecture classes. You take an art history, that's perfect. But this isn't art history. This is you doing stuff. So then the next wave was the Chromebooks. The thing is, Chromebooks are just like iPads, except, slightly more elaborate. So they didn't really quite work. So I got to tell you what's happening right now. This is going to take some thought, okay, guys? So I got to warn you. We're a renewed culture in a way, trying to figure out a whole new way of living during these pandemic times.
Mainly using technology.
The thing is, like, we're going to learn a lot, even when this is over. When we're out of the woods and the pandemic is a memory, we're going to learn what worked. Like the videos for classrooms now. It's like the greatest thing to happen to education. But other things are not working. So let me get back to what I'm trying to say. We need Adobe Animate really badly, right? And all my classes are heavy on the software, right? So anyone who took a class with me in the past, my other class, MMP100, that's Intro to Multimedia, we use like 5, 6 software packages, programs all over the place. So even if you have a computer right now, how do you get the software? So this is what's going on. The school has been working really hard to give us what we're calling remote access. Remote access. So a lot of you have been in a computer lab before. BMCC, we have nice ones, filled with shiny new computers and big screens and everything that we typically need. The idea is you are going to log into the lab from home. This is the idea, right? That means you can get into Adobe Animate. So the company that rules right now is Adobe. If we need Photoshop, we can get in there and get Adobe Photoshop. If we need Illustrator, which we might, you'll get in there and get Adobe Illustrator. That's not loading it on the computer you're sitting at right now. It's strange. It's you're working on this computer, yours, somehow, bridging the gap and using what's in the lab. This is going to be a big adventure, because frankly, I've never done that. And I don't have a Chromebook. right? So I'm gonna have to see how it behaves on my Mac when we get the instructions. So this is getting a little wild. So, bear with me, right? You cannot blame the school because this is going on in every school on planet Earth, right? What can you blame? Nature, if you like, because this virus, how could we be prepared for something this weird, right? So I've been talking to the head of this department, a guy named Christopher Stein, who in my mind is absolutely brilliant and incredibly kind. He literally cares about every single student in the department. And he's been working overtime, round the clock, to figure out how to get everyone, hey, Zachariah, am I putting you to sleep? I can do that.
No, I'm just tired. Had a long day yesterday.
Did you? If you
Yeah.
ever have trouble sleeping, just keep my YouTube link.
No, it's fine. I'm used to like waking up. It's just I guess today was my birthday and like, I went out with like my brothers and stuff.
Hey, happy birthday.
Thank you. So like
Happy birthday.
thank you. I got home like pretty late.
Uh-oh.
It's like I don't like missing class, so I'm just trying to work through it.
I hear you. Hey, listen, I'm very human. I understand that. And again, birthday is one of the best reasons yet. I've had students show up with their blankets. No one showed up with a teddy bear yet, but the blankets are a little weird.
Yeah.
I had one guy, he shows up, he's got his thing on his head, he's got his t-shirt off, I see the weights behind him. It's like, put
Oh
on
my
a shirt,
goodness.
man. It's like, I'm not asking for a tuxedo, just a shirt. But anyway, back to it. So I'm very anxious to get this remote access thing off the ground. And this has already affected our lives because I wanted to work with you today. I'll typically go over everything. It takes an hour and a half, just once, one long lecture. And then we just jump into making stuff, which is what I wanted to do today. But there's just no way that I could do it because they've not figured out the remote access method yet. So today, class is going to be a little bit shorter than it's typically going to be. So relax, take it easy, just join me, get to know what our mission is. I'm thinking by next Friday, they have to have it down. I mean, I have classes on early in the week that need that. So this is what the lowdown is going to be. Those of you on Macs and Windows are definitely going to be logging in to the school labs, hopefully next Friday, connecting via remote access to everything that we need. This is the brave new world, right? And I've been warned it's going to be an adventure as we figure out how to make it work. Now, I want to ask anybody in here who's using a Chromebook or who has no computer right now, you're using a tablet or your phone, to send me an email today so that I could have a list that I need to advocate for you, right? So I want to tell you what I mean by that. I've been told that we can run this stuff on the Chromebook once we get the remote access. But I've also been told that animators are not the best crew to try it. That we're going to have display issues, the way the Chromebook sees your screen and the way, say, Adobe Animate sees your screen. So they don't really want us using the Chromebooks in your animation classes. So my other class, I'm getting everybody Chromebooks, and I already have the steps for them to get Chromebooks. The few people who need them, that is. Turned out there wasn't that many people. But in your case, I got to try to get you a computer, not a Chromebook, which is not exactly a computer. So if you're on a Chromebook, I'm going to include you with that group and try to get you a computer. The instructions of how you request it officially have not yet arrived. Naftali, you trying to get my attention? I saw you wave.
Yeah,
Yeah, tell me.
yeah, because I do. I'm currently using a Chromebook right now.
So Naftali, could you do me the favor and email me right during class or after class? So, because at that point, I'm going to make a list for yourself and anybody else so that I could stay on the case and help you get a computer from the school.
Yeah.
But you have to send me that email, right? Because I have a real lot of students. I'm never going to remember I'll get all the emails later today. I'm going to make one list, and then we're going to move forward. But thanks for letting me know. So I got to say,
Professor,
yes.
I'm using a Dell computer. Is that okay, or do I need to switch to one of the school computers?
No, I think Dell is fine. You know, here's the lowdown on it. Just about any Windows computer, right? So Dell
That's
runs
currently up
Windows,
to date, right?
right? You should be fine. You know, someone showed me a picture the other day of their Sony Vaio. Can I do the class on the Sony Vaio? And at first I got excited because it's like they're like race cars, those things. They're just really good computers. But then I saw a little label on it that said something about, oh, call us if you have an issue with the date 2010.
Hmm.
It was a 10-year-old computer. That's like in dog years. That's a 70-year-old computer. There's like no way that she's gonna be able to use that. I wrote her back. I'm like, gee, I'm sorry. There's just no chance. 10-year-old computer is gonna be able to swing this stuff. So I gotta say,
I have.
yeah, Matthew.
It's okay if I use my Surface Pro too, right? For the drawing portions.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, you're going to figure out what's okay pretty soon on your own. There's going to be too many variations in this room, and I'm going to be doing some amount of guessing.
No, I used it before in my last animation class. I just wanted to make sure that there was nothing you specifically wanted us to get to for use for this class.
No, there's nothing new for this class. The one tool that I'm most concerned with that we have to get working is Adobe Animate CC 2020. That's the real
the
big
Creative Cloud. Okay.
Creative Cloud.
Yeah.
So I'll go over that to some detail.
Okay, so I'm
pretty
good.
soon. So first,
I just want to make sure.
Great. So listen, guys, like I said, anybody in here, people with your cameras off, or your mics off, chat won't do. You have to send me an email today letting me know either of these things. I have a Chromebook, or I have no computer, or my computer's ancient, because we're going to need to try to get you something, right? And as fast as humanly possible, right? So we're going to have to see how this plays out. For everybody else, we're also waiting, because all of us are waiting for that news, how to use remote access from home to get into the computer lab software. You guys following me on this? So it's a two-sided thing. You have to have the hardware, the machine that can do it. And then we all have to get these instructions for this new thing going on. I want to say something to anybody who just arrived. There is, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's about 20 of us in the room right now. I think my class is a little bit bigger than that. If you're late today, don't worry. You didn't miss a lot, right? And frankly, my handout is very thorough, right? Make sure to read that handout closely. That's the one on iraworks.com/BMCC. Right now, we're talking about making sure you have the right type of computer and how we're all going to get into the software, right? So listen, so I don't bore the hell out of everybody, I'm going to have to wind this part down, right? So let me just say something concrete. If you don't have a suitable Mac, right, that's nothing fancy. I just mean something that isn't ancient. Almost any Mac, suitable computer running Windows, Dell, Sony, Gateway, whoever, all of those, you should be fine, right? Right? If you've got a Chromebook, it's strange, they're letting me use the Chromebooks in my other class. They just feeling like the animators need a little bit more power, so they'd rather us get you something else. If for any reason that doesn't work out, we're going to try it on the Chromebooks, which is a little odd. You know what I mean? Because they're not really made for this kind of stuff. So we have to see how that plays out. So again, if you want to borrow a computer from the school, you should email me today, because they don't have official instructions for you yet. But what I can do is reach the head of my department and say, these 4 people, here's their names, right? And this is what we need as soon as possible. Any last questions about the computers? I want to move on then. I want to do this a different way. All symbols work. Nah, nah. It starts looking like, YMCA. Anyway, I don't know if any of you guys know that. That's an old person joke. Oh, some of you guys laughing. All right. I want to do some screen sharing because I want to get used to the way we're typically going to run this class. And frankly, the YouTube video later is going to get really boring if I just keep talking at you. So I'm going to screen share. I want to show you something. So typically in my class, right, what's going to go on is we're going to skip back and forth from the same handout you have to the program itself as I'm demonstrating and you're joining me, right? So right now everybody knows how important it is to have this address handy. And you also know that this is going to be the Zoom link over and over. Well, this is going to be on every handout, so you don't really have to, worry too much. I want to say something about this last business about the computers, right? This is a requirement that I have. So I want everyone to be very clear. This is not an option. If you have not taken the tech survey yet, please click it today, right after class, click this link and take the survey. Frankly, this is for our community so that the school knows what budget we're going to need and who to talk to and how fast we have to act. It asks some very detailed questions. And if you can't answer any of them, skip that question. They want to know what kind of computer you have. Is your internet connection reliable? Other things like that. But if you don't take the survey, these classes are going to get worse. They're not going to get better. This is the way they're going to figure out what action to take. Now, for now, if you don't have an appropriate computer, like I've just been talking about, this is our email address. And I want to be really, really clear about my feelings about this. Do I have a plain old BMCC address? Yeah, sure I do. But I must get at least 20 or more emails a day. It's so easy for me to miss your stuff. Different classes, different faculty members. This is our private email. So you send me something to this address, right? You all see it, right? I will get it, right? So you want to be sure you're reaching out to me. This is just for us. So you would put in the subject, I need a computer loan, right? And, tell me about it, whatever you want to tell me. I'm going to create a list later today. So don't wait. If you do it tomorrow, I'm off tomorrow, right? I want to get this out today so that I could pressure the department. Look, honestly, some of this is winging it, folks, right? We're going to have to work together. These are strange times. They're going to send me exact instructions for you to reach out to who's ever in charge of loaning those computers. But if I have your name, that just means I could work for you. So we're going to start with me. All right. All right. So that's just a few people in the room, but don't be shy about it, right? Look, I learned this without my own computer, right? And it sucked. I had to travel constantly just to get to a computer to do the homework with. So right now, at least you'll have it at home once we get this off the ground. I want to move forward to software. So we have talked a little bit about it, but I want to say a little bit more. The program we're going to use most is called Adobe Animate CC 2020. Now, Adobe is something mostly everybody's heard of, and I think a lot of you have used some of products of theirs. Maybe Photoshop is probably the most popular. But Adobe is a company, so you can never tell someone, yeah, I use Adobe. That doesn't mean anything, right? It's like saying I use the grocery store. I don't even know what that means, right? We're going to be using their program called Animate, which is fabulous. I'm going to talk it up a lot today, but I want to say a little bit about the whole Adobe Creative Cloud Suite, which people call CC. Now, I know some of you guys know a lot about this, right? So please just be kind, be generous. You know this, so it's going to be boring. Not everyone knows it, so we're going to have to be patient with each other. Adobe's got this package they call the Creative Cloud Suite. And it doesn't hold everything they sell, but it's got most of their most popular programs. So it does include Animate, Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, which is for video, bunch of other stuff, right? But those are the big ones, the really big ones. And for a very reasonable price, a student can get a subscription to all those programs on their computer. And any upgrades over the year you get automatically. It's amazing. Last time I looked, a student subscription was something like $20 a month. I didn't look over the last month, so it could have gone up. That's $240 a year because it is a year contract, right? You can't back out. So I don't want to lie to you. But that's less than one program typically costs, and you're getting most of them. So let me be fair. If you're a diehard, you know you want this, you're so sure that you're going to go into this field, you're going to need a lot of Creative Cloud products. You're going to need the right tools. You want to be a scuba diver, you can't wait to buy the tank. You're not going to tell your teacher, I'm just going to hold my breath, you know, until I can get a tank, you know. Now, here's the good news. Remote access is going to get you that through the school lab. So the call is yours. You know, if you're loaded right now, you happen to have a lot of money right now, which is rare. They'll say you do, and you also know you want to do this, you just go ahead and get yourself your own subscription from Adobe. Just make sure you pay the student price, do a search, Adobe Creative Cloud student. You know, eventually you'll find a little menu that asks you to mention your school and you'll get the discount. I don't want to convince anyone in the room to do that. The school's mission is to make sure no one has to do that. So let's keep our fingers crossed that the remote access method works and works really fast. We were hoping to have it online by last week and that didn't happen. I really don't want to wait till week 3 for this. I don't even want to wait till next week. Am I making sense? I know it was early in the morning. Some people were out late.
Yeah, some of it, I have all the Creative Cloud and stuff. I'm just listening on.
Got it. Yeah, I know a couple of you have it. Some of you took the survey early, so I got to look at it. Some of you already have it. So Creative Cloud just means you got everything you're going to need for right now. So you're either going to get it on your own or you're going to get it through our remote method. I want to just say quickly about other programs. Will we use other programs? I would like to. For animation, we're sticking with this one, but I would like to do a little bit in Adobe Illustrator because that program is often the one people use to do the drawings that go into 2D animation programs. I would like to include a little of it, possibly a little bit of Photoshop. It's fabulous for backgrounds and other elements, but really by and large, this is the one we need the most. Are there any programs, any questions about programs right now? Tiffany, am I okay on the chats? Nobody chatting me anything?
No, no one's chatting.
No, yet.
I have a
right.
question.
Okay, go ahead, Naftali.
You said like we're going to use what, like 2 to 3 programs?
First, I got to ask you, do we know each other from before?
Yeah.
I thought so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but you know, I got to be honest. It's 99% Adobe Animate. It's almost all one program, right? I'd like to visit these other programs because it may be part of your workflow. You know, I want to mention something to you. I chose a couple of movies that I've, you know, short movies that I'd like people to watch for homework. And one of them is just a kind of racing through history, a 10-minute documentary. And it starts way back at the beginning and goes up to the very recent past. And it was interesting what they had to say about animation software. And it was pretty interesting as they mentioned famous movies and they'd say, well, this movie used 5, 6 different techniques. So that basically means people are getting wild. For example, you can make animations out of cutouts, collage-based animation. I can think of at least one amazing animator, whose name's escaping me right now, who works all in cutouts. So that means they have to be scanned or photographed. I've known people to draw on paper and scan each paper, hand drawings, and turn them into animation, very slow. A lot of people like drawing on the tablets, which means you're using some kind of software to draw into, and that's typically Illustrator or Photoshop, but it could be other things. So workflow is going to be different for everybody in the room. So in the way of answering Naftali's question, I'd like to visit some things that are typical of some people's workflow, but some of you guys know Studio Ghibli, right? You know, from Japan. And you know, at the moment, they're the kings of 2D. You know, they fought off 3D, they don't do 3D. Disney has moved more and more into 3D. We're starting to think of them as a 3D animation company. Mickey Mouse was 2D, but so it's like, I don't know, you guys are all going to split off. Some of you going 2D, some are going 3D, some are going to do, did anyone see the Van Gogh movie? The animated Van Gogh movie?
No, not that.
It's very sad, very dramatic, but it's hand painted. Those are paintings. It's the most, it's a crazy way to do animation, the slowest method I could possibly think of. But obviously I'm not going to do painting with you guys. So here's my goal. A couple things that strike me as very modern in terms of workflow I'd like to bring in. So in short, a better and shorter answer to Naftali's excellent question is, we're going to focus on Animate. And once you know Animate, there's a lot of choices of how you bring what I call assets in. Animate really can draw incredibly well. So I got to say, for people who want one stop, like just want to do it all in one place, Adobe Animate just blows my mind. But I want to tell you why I say that. I'm an Adobe Illustrator user for 25 years, 22 years, actually. I teach it at other schools, and I'm a diehard illustrator. That's my program. And it happens to work incredibly well with Adobe Animate. They have virtually the same way of looking at things. So I could draw in Adobe Illustrator, bring it into Adobe Animate, and actually change my mind about stuff. Change the drawing right in, because the programs play that nicely together. So it was a long time for me to accept the idea of drawing directly in Adobe Animate. I was so used to coming from a drawing program. But man, they just improved Adobe Animate to such a degree that even as a diehard Illustrator user, I've come close to stopping using it if it's for animation. You really, nowadays, most of the time, I'd rather just draw it all right in the program. So that's why I think, like, really, even if you only had Animate, you'd be fine for most of this class, if not all. So that's my answer to that. I want to address tablets, which is not on my handout. I didn't include that question. And I mean drawing tablets right now. Do you need to have a drawing tablet to be an animator, and do you need it for this class? Well, let me do that backwards. No, you don't need it for this class. To be honest, if we were in the physical lab, we've got the coolest drawing tablets you've ever seen in there. And I shouldn't tease you, right? I shouldn't even mention it. It's too late now. They're huge. They're these $3,000 beasts, these things, these Cintiqs, and they're like incredible. But for people who want drawing tablets, sometime later in the semester, I'll show you mine. And mine's like about $200, and it's amazing. It's not a $3,000 Cintiq, but it's amazing. If you're worried about all that, you're like, hey, $1 is a lot right now. I get it. I've been there. Don't. You could literally, I've done many animations with my touchpad on my laptop or with a mouse. So really don't worry about it. I mean, down the road, to have your dreams come true, you'll know what you need as an individual artist. But right now, I'm not depending on a drawing tablet. All I'm depending on is a working computer that can handle Animate.
I was dreaming about those tablets.
Look, and everybody does. And the weird part is I had a tablet early. Wacom was the big company. And I got so good with the mouse in those years, I just never used the tablet. I just got so used to the mouse, it became irrelevant. So I had this tablet was doing nothing but take up room. Then I got a smaller tablet, the same thing happened. What I like about mine, the one that I'll show you at some point, is it is inexpensive, but you look at it, you do see your artwork on the tablet. It's not one of those where you're looking at the screen and drawing. You actually see what you're doing. And for $200, that's pretty amazing. That technology didn't exist a couple of years ago. It's kind of newish. But for right now, bear with me. We're going to learn a lot of different techniques that aren't going to require heavy drawing until later in the semester. We're going to need to do some serious drawing.
Professor.
Not really. Yeah, Matthew.
Can you tell me what type of tablet that is? I might want to get it. Because when
look it up.
Surface Pro, it's kind of weird. It gives me this weird it doesn't draw like I used to, like I draw on paper. It gives me these weird.
Really?
It doesn't come out like I want them.
I'm disappointed to hear that. I mean, one thing you should do, look your issues up and see if they're fixes. But mine is called an X pen.
And
X.
XP pen? XP pen?
do you think you can send me it in the chat so I could write the
Give me a second here for 1 minute here. Is it X? Yeah, it is XP pen. Yeah, XP pen. Now I'm going to ask you to write it. You know, actually, Tiffany, you want to do that for me? Just dash down XP pen, you know, on the chat, so anyone who wants to peek there. Guys, listen, I want to say something. I don't, I'm not getting kickback from XP pen. I haven't tried every tablet out there, but what I did was I did a lot of research on, you know, affordable drawing tablets where you could see the screen. And there were 3 or 4 whose reviews were best. I looked in a lot of detail, and in the end, I felt best about this one. And I have to admit, I'm very, very happy with it. So there you have it. I want to move on, so I'm going to get back to the handout for a minute. I want to say about attendance. I mentioned this earlier, so I'm going to keep it short. I'm experimenting with not including attendance in my grades. Yeah, I'm very resistant to that idea because, frankly, it encourages people who are having a hard time being self-disciplined. Now, if you're an alpha type of person, you're very self-disciplined. You know, even having a birthday at night doesn't stop you from coming to class in the morning. You're fine. You know, you got the right attitude. You don't even need my attendance to do it. You're going to be here because you know how to succeed. But, you know, some people are just figuring it out, you know, and I'm not blaming them. They got a lot of young people, you know, and the temptation to sleep through class is very strong if you've been playing video games all night, you know, or Netflix binging, or whatever we do in this semi-quarantine world, you know. I really think those excuses suck. I really got to be honest with you, you know. They really do. I'm talking about your life. You know what I mean? You want an advantage on your life. I'm not fooling around in this class. I've got to tell you something. I'm teaching to people. I consider you all artists if you see yourself that way or not. And I'm going to treat you as an artist this entire semester. I'm not going to treat anybody in here as somebody who's thinking about it, even if that's what you're doing. You know, last semester, I had a student who was a student. At the end of the class, he said, I think I'm switching my major. I was very sad. You know, just this guy's really good at everything just because he knows how to learn. Very humble guy. And he was like, you know, this is more work than I expected, and I got other interests. And what can I do? But you have to act when you're trying something out like you mean it completely. That's the only way to try it properly. For a little while, you act like you're just crazy about this, even if you're not, to find out what would happen if you did that. If you applied yourself completely. And then you'll know. At the end of the semester, some of you guys are going to leave animation. My class is hard. Some of you are going to leave and say, you know what, I need something easier. I don't want to work that hard. Others are going to be like, damn, it was worth it, though. And you're going to stick with it. And it's no judgment. But for right now, I'm going to suggest that you grade your own attendance. I'm going to take attendance. I'm doing that right now with a screenshot. Because I'm keeping track on how much attendance actually creates quality. You know, but for right now, if you can't make it, here's the rules. If for any reason you can't make it, you must watch the video that day, right? If you watch it the next day, I suppose that's all right, but don't delay because you know it's going to happen. When you have 3-4 classes and you have not joined them, you know, you didn't do the homework also, and at the same time, you got to, you know, do the dishes and walk the dog and do the laundry or whatever, you know, that's doom. You know, the whole idea is to stay on point as much as possible. A little slip back, you could win, but 2 or 3 slip backs, and usually the game over, you know, we all know what that's like. So in short, we're adults. Come to class. If you can't, treat my video as the class and go there as soon as humanly possible. And I will not judge you, right? But there's no way to pass this class without watching everything. Today's a lot of conversation, but usually it's all about the work, you know? All right, let's move on. So that's what I have to say about attendance. This is the link for the videos. Now, if you went there today, you're going to see an empty playlist. But if you go there tonight, this same conversation we're having is going to be on this YouTube playlist. And before you know it, there'll be class after class. They'll all be numbered and they'll all have the dates. And you could rewatch a class if you want to. If you're like, you know, I passed out in the last hour, you go to YouTube and just scroll over to the last hour and watch that, you know. So this is fantastic. Really, even if when we go back to the classroom, I wish there was a way to do this even then, you know, because this is the best backup. I've had students, I taught this summer, by the way. I had some people in the summer class that were like, oh, now and then I had to take the, do the YouTube version, and I forgot it wasn't live. You know, people were laughing and getting busy. I started talking to the screen. I realized nobody was there. You know, and that made me feel really good, right? So that they're included, where our environment is going to be good for anyone who comes later. Also, I had at least a couple people who took the class twice. You know, they were into it. So they would just they'd watch it during the day, watch it again while they were working. You know, pause when they got to something good. All right. So there's the link. This will also be on every handout. All right, guys, I want to switch topics. I really want to talk about, you know, kind of bring it all home. I'm juggling in a little bit more about Creative Cloud, but mostly I just want to talk about animation and, for now, animation and motion graphics. So I'd like you guys to join me on this topic. You know, we don't have the time for everyone in this room to show their favorite animation. It would be pretty interesting, though, if we did. You know, if we made like a shared list and everybody had to put 5 animations on the list. It would be interesting to see how different our choices are. There are some people are going to be like, oh, I'm all about kids 2D animation. That's what I want to do. I want to do Dora the Explorer, you know, for example. And, you know, when I was a kid, I loved Little Bill. Anybody know Little Bill?
Yep.
I love Little Bill. And one of the things
I
I love
remember.
about Little Bill, Little Bill's history, you know, but is someone talking to us, or I can't tell what that was. You know, Little Bill was probably done in Flash with Adobe After Effects combined with it. You know, as a lot of you guys know, Flash became Adobe Animate. So Adobe Animate is the new extremely pumped up version of what was once Flash. But you know, those are 2D. Some people are going to mention only 3D. Some people are only going to mention anime specifically. Others might like handmade animations like The Snowman, which won every award possible. The entire movie was drawn with colored pencils. Brutal workload, but gorgeous and wildly poetic movie, The Snowman. So I want to say something to you, though, about motion graphics. So bear with me for a second. I made most of my animation income on motion graphics, not animation. So what's really the difference? You know, when you're talking to regular folks about animation, they mean character animation almost all the time. So that basically means it's a story and there are characters, and if they're not people, they're probably animals who talk, you know, or something like that. So it's a story. There's a star and, you know, a group of characters. That's character animation, which is what most of you want to do. Maybe not everybody, but mostly everybody. Motion graphics is not that. Right? So anytime you see text that says, you know, welcome to MMP260 intro to 2D animation text, that's motion graphics. So flying text is a form of motion graphics. If you see colors changing in the background, that's also motion graphics. If you see someone's logo fade in from transparent to full opacity, that's also motion graphics. So that basically means most ads that you see that involve motion are motion graphics, unless they involve characters. Then they're also character animation. Why do I bring it up? Well, I got 2 reasons why. We're going to do some of both. And I want to say something about your wallet. your bank account, your rent. Don't cast a small net around the thing you love. Put the thing you love in the dead middle and cast a really big net around it. You know what I mean? If you all wanted to be movie stars, that's great, middle of the net. But on the outer edge, you're going to get coffee for movie stars. Or coffee for the movie star's assistant. Because then you'll know them, then you'll know the movie star, then you'll meet the director, and on and on and on and on. So when it comes to what we do, be open to the programs, be open to different styles, be open to different kinds of work, be open to working alone, be open to working on a team. In short, be open. So we're going to do some kinetic type this semester, as well as character animation, working with text. You know, the great thing about working with text is it's fast because there's no drawing. You know, you're mostly finding the perfect fonts and shapes to work with those fonts and a couple of other elements, but all the drawing time, which could go on forever, is gone. So there's a plus for that. All right. So we're going to be doing both. I just want to say something about the syllabus. If you like looking at syllabi or my syllabus, you know, go to ironworks.com. You know, basically you could, I'm just going to take a quick peek here. You go to our little menu. My computer just decided to take a break. There we go. Wake up. Yeah. This, hang on a second here. Why is this misbehaving? Oh, that doesn't bode well. This one working? Hang on a second, guys. Give me a second. Creepy. Huh. Well, I'm gonna have to look into this after class. I can't have that happen during class.
Yeah, that, remember before I told you I couldn't sign into the website? That's what happened to me before.
Really? The menus wouldn't open for you?
Yeah.
What's odd, because you know, obviously we all got in, so there's some kind of hang up going on. I got to figure out what it is. Anyway, let's not lose our momentum. I think it's okay. Guys, my room suddenly got way hot. I hope my air conditioner's not too loud for you, because it's a noisy beast. All right, let me get back to, let's see what I could do from here. Anyway, I'm not going to go over the syllabus because I believe I'm covering everything right now. Anyone who wants to look at it on their own, please do. If you have questions, feel free to text me, you know, to email me specifically about it. We talked about Adobe Animate. I don't have much more to say about it. I've said a little bit about Illustrator and Photoshop. For those who are interested, how many Photoshop users do I have in here? Can I see thumbs up or emoji thumbs up or anything like that? You know, a lot of animators use Photoshop a lot. I personally love Photoshop. I've used it for years, but I don't use it as an animator for anything other than backgrounds because it's hard to change the drawings when you're in the animation program itself. So you really have to have your assets just right. They're less flexible. I definitely prefer Illustrator for that purpose, but not everyone agrees. So I got to say, for right now, those are the programs we got our eyes on. Don't concern yourself too much with the drawing and painting programs. We're really focusing on Animate. I want to give you guys a peek at a couple things from prior students, right? Just to give you a feel for the kind of stuff that happens in the class. So these are last minute picks, things that I just pulled out at the last minute. So I'm not saying, you know, necessarily genius, but I just want to give you an idea of what's going to happen. Oops, hang on a second here. So this is a late assignment, which is the turnaround assignment. And in class, we're going to learn how you make a 2D drawing turn around. And it involves a lot of drawings. So, you know, the interesting thing about visual memory is that they're really here, this person's got 7 drawings to make the ballerina spin around, these music box looking ballerinas, just 7 drawings. And some are easy to count. there's the in front, right? Part of the way, let's call it quarter, and then side view, right? And then another part of the way, and then back view, the back of the head. And that's sort of repeated the other way around. So really this 7, the reason there is an 8 is because you repeat 1, right? So this is incredibly well done. Obviously there's some drawing involved here. This is vector drawing, probably all drawn right in Adobe Animate. Kind of very well done, short assignment. Much harder than it looks. This is an example of kinetic type. Piece is its own reward. It's got the name of the guy who said this, which is Mahatma Gandhi. This is significantly easier, I believe, than the turnaround. With some psychedelic type. Really rather well done. Very professional work. More type. Again, rather professional kinetic type. Motion graphics in that case. I want to actually ask you to give me a minute for a second here, because that is, I'd like to show you some more, and I thought they were in there. I'm going to start backwards because hopefully that'll be a little bit more inspiring. Boy, I really enjoyed Nadine's work. This is really only a part of a turnaround, but I really like the kind of personality in it. So there are a lot of short assignments. This is a exceptional turnaround because, as I said, there's 7 drawings. It's interesting how well the hair works, but if you look at the hair closely, there's really just a couple versions of the hair. And our eye actually believes that even that mass of hair is turning with the rest of the head. She's very tricky. Also, the wings were not particularly easy because you could see the perspective on the wings is pretty radical. Once you see it in side view, you barely see the wing because it's pointing at you. Aaliyah was a really quiet person who seemed to put all her strength into animation, had really great confidence. This is so good, it's kind of scary. The thing that was scariest about Isabel was she just knew dogs incredibly well. She had no references for this, which I still find hard to believe. She literally, typically I would have to take photographs of a dog turning to be able to do drawings of a dog turning that are this kind of, reality based. I think she might have had references for the mountains and the rest of it. But for the dog turning, that's kind of incredible. So these are late assignments. A second here. Simpler one that I just think is brilliant. This artist figured out how to take one simple turnaround and turn it into something special by duplicating elements, which would make him very valuable in the workplace, right? Because he cut the workload down a lot by repeating stuff, some just very smart repetition. I wish this one just had a long pause after that door shuts because I love the symbolism of it. What door shut? I mean, this guy's dressed in a suit, so I don't think it's a relationship door. Maybe it's a career door, but something's gone wrong. Something he feels is over. I think an incredibly economical way to tell us something about a character. This one's a little dark. I hope you can all see it. I bring this up because Nino just loved to hand draw. So she kind of broke almost every rule about, what's considered smart ways to draw for animation. Things are not easy to repeat and almost impossible to fill with color because there are no closed shapes. But her work had a lot of personality. I like this turnaround. The guy goes completely 360. When his rocket ship leaves, he's pretty sad about it. I guess he's left behind, which I think is funny, strange, simple, smart. I don't want to show you too many of these. You kind of work a lot of the people got to by the end of the semester. Gory, good Lord, don't take that class. How's everybody, all right? So, 2D, 2D, 2D. Did I hear a question in there? Anybody?
No.
No? Let me give you a peek at just a couple more. I said we're going to end early today, but it'll give you a better idea where we're headed. It's humble beginnings in this class, right? So everyone's going to have to stay very focused on the first few weeks to be able to have, the freedom that I'd like you to have later.
Wait, I have a question. So,
Yeah, go ahead, sure. By all means. Yes,
so
sir.
with the mouse, you can do all the, like, say if I draw something on like a notebook, and can I can replicate it with the mouse? Like,
That's a really good question. Well, short answer is yes. The longer answer is, you'll have to find a workflow that works for you to pull that off. Like some people, really a lot of people like sketching on paper even today. You could bet those people at Studio Gimli do endless drawings before they get anywhere near a computer. But in those cases, the people like sitting there with their drawing out, their studies, and then eventually drawing it onto the computer. Another method is to photograph the drawing, bring it into Adobe Animate or Adobe Illustrator or even Photoshop, and work with layers and actually do a version over the drawing. So that would involve photographing or scanning it. I got to say, like, one thing that I'm going to focus on in this class is doing most of the drawing in Adobe Animate for a few reasons. If you do want someone to turn, for example, right, you have the choice of just doing completely separate drawings, starting from scratch for each position. So it's like a lot of drawings. And, we're running at 24 frames a second. So that would be 24 drawings for 1 second of motion. 240 drawings for 10 seconds. So I'm going to try to get people not to do that for a little while. So I want to show you ways that are a little bit, could use the way you draw. I'm glad that you draw, but rethink it in a way that is more practical. That's one of our goals. So the ones you were looking at, all but one of them was drawn with techniques shared with the class that I'm going to share with you, which you can do with a mouse or a touchpad or a stylus in any number of ways.
Okay.
Just want to see where we're at. So this is Nadine again. She's always drawing the same character. That's a walk cycle. So this is actually repeating a few steps that we're going to go deep into walk cycles. It takes a little while to get the hang of, and it takes a damn long time. I'm still working out my feelings about timing. What if I want someone to walk slowly and then get really fast and slow again? It's complex, and what differences there are in the way people walk. But at first, it's just to learn. I just love this one. Aaliyah again. Her work was always strange. Very simple walk cycle, I'll admit. And again, you could see the GIF is looping. Just give us a chance to really check it out. But, it's an economical, very simple way of approach. I also like her background, very simple, all done in Adobe Animate. This one cracks me up. And again, it's pretty interesting. You could see that there are at least 3 layers at work because the grass is on a layer of its own. Then the motion has at least 1 layer, and then that whole background is just another layer. This Isabel, who you saw her dog, her drawing style gave her a lot of problems with filling things with color. I happen to love this, and most people experience it as her meaning to do it. It's got this ghost-like quality as this Mohawk person walks along a promenade. But really, we just could not get it to fill with color. So one of the things I'm going to focus on a lot is how to draw in ways that make the process easier, as I said earlier, including filling things with color. This deceptively simple, here it comes. Almost there. Hysterical. Jonas was a crack up. These are, by the way, based on a set of very famous photographs from around 1900, except for the dancing part where I think Jonas actually photographed himself and used those to help figure out how to draw it. Very, very simple. So, you know, one thing that I want to say about the homework in my class is there's a lot of homework. They're all more work than they look like. You know, most of the things you looked at took considerable time to do. So people are going to have to scale down their imagination to a manageable place. You know, what can you do? If you only have an hour for the homework, what can you do in an hour? And you need a 1 hour idea, you know. But if you know, if you're like, this is my favorite class, I got 3 hours a week or 4 hours a week, you could do a bigger idea. We're all going to have to be smart. I know some of you got jobs, even full-time jobs, a lot of students at this school. Some of my students have jobs and kids. So you're going to have to be very, very smart based on your own life. But the reason there's a lot of homework in my class is not to be a tough, mean teacher. It's to make sure you have a chance to fly. And it's just hours spent. They're going to make you, give you the ability to fly as a creative. I'm going to show you a few more and then drop this part of the show. We may come back to some of these. This is a weird one. I really love the drawing style. Strange little guy passing by. But watch the way the scale of the background changes. I mean, this guy's taller than the trees. One could argue that he's in the foreground, but he really feels close to the trees. If not for them, it would just look like the city's way behind him. But he's a bit of a giant until something happens. This was a tremendous amount of work. Once he gets to the crosswalk, the scale changes, and suddenly he's the right size almost. You know, it's just a very odd, kind of surreal, sort of funny GIF animation. You might notice none of these have sound because, you know, frankly, we had enough work to do. We didn't get to do a lot of sound. But also, you know, these are GIFs, and GIFs don't have sound. Yeah, I like this one just because it was so peculiar. This person found their own. They really needed a pause after the boulder hits them. That boulder is a photograph. That did require Photoshop to pull off. All right, I want to show you some humble stuff, okay? Right, so this is a little less exciting. Look, obviously no one's telling long stories in this class. This is intro to 2D animation. And if you do want to tell long stories, brace yourself. You're going to need a team. You know, it's very rare that anyone could pull off, you know, some of you are going to be able to do it, you know, but it's typically needs a team. It's just too much work to do this kind of thing. Let's see, let me get you something more typical of, what, this is not class one. These are people just showing off is what they are. All right, let me get you, I want to show you stuff that's really more on point. So at first we're learning basic techniques. How do you get any shape to move? How do you get any shape to change color, right? And then the challenges on the homeworks are usually to use those techniques to mean something. You know, how do you make a point? So this is just about the day passing, you know, for example. Very simple techniques. She was just scary, this woman, really. Aaliyah, I really wonder if she even needed my class, truth of it was. I love this one, very odd. This very simple way of getting that plane to fly, really, really simple drawing. It looks like it's frowning at us though. You have to say though, but it's convincing, it's playful, it's got a childlike air, but really, you know, with a couple other elements, it could be very professional in the sense that it's usable, as simple as it is. You know, complexity doesn't make something professional. I really love the shadow on that tree. I just wish the tree was more in the foreground. It's my favorite part of the animation. But still, second week, barely covered anything. You know, these people figured out how to express themselves in any number of ways with, you know, the time they had, with the handful of techniques we covered.
I love how he did the lightning on that one.
Yeah, the lightning was kind of tough. That's all separate drawings, so there's really no special techniques. It's literally just drawing one bolt. Over
each other and moving them slightly.
Yeah, if necessary, but really the eye fools you. Really, like if you have a drawing that lasts one frame, that's a 24th of a second, right? And the next frame is a different drawing completely. The lightning's like way over here now. The eye just buys it. It's just like, it's going to feel like flashing lightning. You know, one of the things that's so weird about this class is you start getting a beat on how many drawings you need to fool the person's eye. I mean, the human eye is always looking for continuity. It's always convincing itself that things make sense. So there's actually less drawings needed than you would think. All right, I just want to get a quick peek and see what else there is. This is the ball bouncing project. You know, again, gifted people take it much, much further. It's more than a ball bouncing. You know, in this case, it's the tier. It's actually this particular project. We've done ball bouncing together in class, and the idea is to use two balls and make them relate in some way. This is kind of brilliant, in my opinion. Maybe the best one I've ever gotten so far. You know, simple, very simple ideas. You know, really, even something like this, you know, if the person's quick, it's still an hour's work. Kind of, you know, clever. I get the feeling this guy preferred basketball. You know, maybe the other ball should have gone through a net. This is a beauty, isn't it? See, one thing that I love about simple, smart homework is the technique on this one's incredibly easy. The thing that makes it work is the graphic. You know, this top view of the pool table, it's just a beautiful shape, you know, and the motion making this strong diagonal across it is just very, very strong. It's just graphic thinking. This animator thinks like a graphic designer, which is, you know, their own method.
Oh, that one's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, this one or the last one? This one's
This
cool.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think too. And you know, she was just always took her personality and brought it to class. So you want to be honest, it's what I want the most. Really, I really want everybody to get a handle on techniques because I don't want to give you a style. It's the last thing in the world that I want. I really want people, I don't even want you to find a style. I want the style to find you. And this is why, listen guys, don't hold this against me, but it's my biggest complaint about anime. I mean, the filmmaker who started anime says it was his monster. He said it was his biggest mistake because he didn't know that endless people were going to copy it. You know, so many things are going to look almost the same. And it really is, it's a starvation for people who are not confident that they'll ever find themselves. You know, and you can't find yourself if you're too busy copying an existing style. This Nadine, that's never going to happen to her because she's just honest. What will this look like? I don't know. And then it looks like Nadine in the end. She didn't force it. Oh, this is, again, motion graphics. It's just very confident. I love the way the horizon line between the sky, let's say, and the floor moves around as well as the two surfaces. Okay, last one here. Universe. My first animation was also just spheres. It was a clay animation when I was 12, where a boulder made of clay comes into a town of little rocks and attacks them by swallowing them all. You know, and it took forever to make because it was stop action, you know, with a camera and a tripod and all that, which I don't do anymore. Anyway, enough of that. All right. I'm going to wrap it up early today, as I said that I would. I want to say a couple quick things to you about the homework this week, which is, you know, honor system. This one's not going to be graded. It's really observation stuff. But I want to be full disclosure with you. My class is exhausting because you imagine if we had 2 more hours, which we typically do. So I'm going to try to train myself to take breaks even in Zoom. You know, so people could, you know, take 20 minutes or whatever and, you know, get it together, have a coffee, splash your face. Because that's the way the class is going to be. Lots of work. Typically right now we're in the lab and I'm like, everybody now open Adobe Animate. You know, like this is how you draw some basic shapes and we just get a little bit off the ground. Can't really do that today because we don't have the remote access option available. And, you know, only 1 or 2 people have the program somehow on their own, but that's just not enough. So I'm going to ask you all to be patient. If you're mystically inclined, do some magic to make sure we have remote access for next week. Because we need it, and we need it bad. You know, there's really, you know, really all we can do is introduce themes and prepare everyone for what it's going to be like. I just want to say a little bit about the homework for a moment or two. So this mini documentary here, I rather like, even though I disagree with some stuff. So I want to, I included other movies to balance out what I didn't like. Have any of you guys heard of Toon Boom?
No.
Toon Boom?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, does anyone actually use it?
no.
No.
No, I want to tell you about Toon Boom. So when it comes to 2D animation, the whole question is what program's best, you know, and what are the professionals using? And it isn't an obvious answer. You know, Photoshop is the obvious answer. You know, you're talking about photos and everybody's like, you got to know Photoshop. And it's true. You have to. Is there competition? Yes. Does anyone care about the competition? Not really. But with everything else, you know, there's competition. You know, you're writing a book report, you're probably going to write it in Microsoft Word. It's number one. If you're working at a newspaper, you're definitely using Microsoft Word if you're a writer. But that's it. You know, when it comes to drawing, there's half a dozen programs. Painting, half a dozen programs. Animation, 2D animation, half a dozen programs. But the biggest ones right now, and guys, I don't want to overstep my bounds because I'm an animate expert. So I don't want to say the wrong thing and make mistakes. But right now, it's a Toon Boom, Adobe Animate, and I think we should include Adobe After Effects in this conversation. So I just want to say something about all three. One problem with Toon Boom is there's a bunch of versions, and the big ones are real expensive, and the learning curve is difficult. Based on what everybody says. There's somebody chasing me around trying to convince me to move all my classes to Toon Boom, offering me workshops and all these things to turn me into a Toon Boom user, which I'd like to do also. But one of the reasons I lean on Adobe Animate is all of you who stay in the arts, the digital arts, you're all going to have the Creative Cloud at some point because you can't escape it, which includes Adobe Animate, which is made to play with the other Adobe programs. So it just makes sense. There's no additional bill. It's a friendly program. It's powerful. It gets more powerful every couple of months. They add something amazing, truly amazing. So they're competing programs. Toon Boom is a little ahead in terms of professional popularity, but it's hard to say that that's going to stay there because Adobe Animate has just been getting bigger and bigger. And frankly, people are getting over their anger at Flash. No big speeches about that. But Flash was made for web animators and web designers who animate. People like me. I'm a web designer who animates. And Flash was made for us. It was also made for gamers, people designing games for the internet specifically. But everything went south for Flash, and it proved to be a great way for evil people to create viruses and hack into things, and also just bad programmers were programming in Flash and slowing down your computer when they didn't mean to, and Flash went down the tubes. But not before it gave birth to Adobe Animate, which fixed all those problems and changed its camp. It's sort of still used by web design people, but barely. And it became full blown for animators and just kept improving. It's one of the reasons this school chose to use it. But Adobe After Effects is also huge. Now, I'm going to lean on Tiffany. Tiffany, you use After Effects quite a bit, don't you?
Not really, but I have used it once or twice.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a great program, and like I included by the way, a list of famous things done in Flash and Animate, since they're really the same. And some of them say Animate and After Effects. So I'm going to give you an idea about that. Let's say you need lasers. After Effects is going to be better. Say you need smoke. Say you need smoke with laser lights going through the smoke. Can you picture it? Right? After Effects is going to be better. So there's all kinds of things that After Effects can do better, and there's all kinds of things that Animate could do better. You're going to need to draw. Animate's going to do it better. You're doing walk cycles or turnarounds and stuff. Animate's going to make it a simpler process. So a lot of people choose to start in Animate, and if they need that other level of effects, they take the Animate file and move it over into the next program. So it's a really common workflow thing to actually use more than one program. But in terms of starting your animation in After Effects, a lot of classes do that. Maybe your MMP100 might have done that. We're choosing to go with a devoted 2D program like Adobe Animate for that. So anyway, I want to get back to this little list. So anyway, this YouTube mini documentary, 10 minutes long, is really fun. You could really see how this all got started. The history of animation is only 120 years old, really. It started just after the camera started to get off the ground, and made with strange devices, some of which looked like record players. You had to sit next to the thing to see the animation. And then moved into early animation like Gertie the Dinosaur, which we're going to end the class on in a minute. And the first animation with sound, which was Steamboat Willie. But these here are examples of animations made just in Animate or its parent Flash. Though Animate Superior, it is in this family. So these here are examples. You can click around, see how you feel about it. This is just a list, mostly, of well-known shows made in these programs so that you know that we're working in a professional environment. The one I really want you to watch the most is the first one, but you should definitely click around the others and just get to know. You'll be ready and hopefully inspired for what we're going to do next week. I want to show you one thing now before we actually leave, right? So give me a moment. I hear the sound of someone drawing. That's a great sound. Don't stop. All right. Oh, we're going to get a little taste of this one. I want to say something to you about it. Gertie the Dinosaur is the first animation. Now, that's got to be a bit of a lie because it's way too good to be the first animation. Yeah, it's just the first one. This artist figured out how to do it. He's the beginning. There's no doubt it belongs to Winsor McCay, right? This is the first one he released. And he was a smart guy, made a big deal out of it, put on whole shows around this animation and got himself a hell of a lot of attention. Winsor McCay is more famous as a cartoonist and one of the earliest cartoonists in the world. So just bear with me for a moment. So I mean print cartoons. Cartoons were born in newspapers. They were born in the United States, the first country to have cartoons, and because of Ben Franklin. And I'm not saying Ben Franklin was a cartoonist, but he ran a newspaper, amongst all the other things the guy did. And he knew that Americans, many couldn't read. You know, the fact that we can all read is recent history. But they couldn't, and he thought he'd get more people to look at the paper with more drawings, and he invited people to do very friendly kinds of drawings that could tell stories. So even if you can't read, you could follow along. And early cartoons were born. And even Popeye, for those of you who know who Popeye is, started way back then in the times of Ben Franklin. But this one guy, Winsor McCay, came out with something called Little Nemo in Slumberland. Now, if you happen to know Little Nemo,
I saw the movie for it recently.
Did you see the Disney version, or did you see a moving version or the actual comics?
I saw the 1989 film.
Film. So
Yeah.
Disney.
Yeah. I can't. The TMS one. Can't remember.
Just gotta warn you though, like I'm talking about the originals, and I don't want to criticize later ones, but you know, Disney especially often kind of steals stuff, and sometimes they steal well, and sometimes not so well. I want to give you a peek at two things so you could just see how this man thought and how it arrived at what we're all going to do, right? So we're going to get a look at Gertie in a minute, but I want to show you something, that especially share this with Naftali and anyone else who might be interested. I want to show you something that happened before he figured out how to animate. So as I said, Little Nemo in Slumberland was redone many times, right? So I'm going to go to the images right now, just because I want to point something out. So
Yeah, I remember like the process to do the movie, but it took a very long time.
That's true. And the original was just a comic book. So I do want to show you a little bit of the, try to get a look at some pages of the comic. Can you guys all see this? So I just want to,
Yes.
if any of you like graphic novels, and I really do hope some of you do, right? They're very closely related to the animator's world, right? So yeah, comic books, and even if you come out of superheroes, maybe you're a big Marvel Comics guy or a DC Comics or some other more, Sandman and more elaborate kind of comics. The graphic novel is something that I love because it takes motion and describes it in frames, but they don't play. And also, they have to be beautifully designed pages, which is a graphic design argument. This guy's a genius in all those ways. I want to point something about this particular image. So, Little Nemo is a rich kid. The early 1900s, 1905, right? This is before animation was born. And this rich kid at night, he's bored of his world, and he wants to see the rest of the world, the real world. So at night, his bed comes to life and stretches off and walks, and it takes into other neighborhoods and also to Slumberland, this dream place. So to exaggerate the height of the bed, he went with these super tall frames, which is pretty interesting. But to exaggerate time passing, he's used the position of the moon. So notice how the first frame gets the moon here, right, full moon, right, and a self-contained landscape of buildings. But in the next two frames, not only is the moon shared between the two frames, that he's passing by and time is passing, but so is the landscape. So in time, he passed this building, and now he's next to these buildings. This guy was a genius. How this guy could come up with stuff that elaborate when there were no cartoonists before him? To me, that's just like, what? You would think that would have happened after 100 years of cartoons, but no, right at the dawn. So it's not surprising that he also figured out how to do the first animation, which I'm about to show you. Legend has it. This is legend, right? So you'd have to test it out historically. McKay's brother supposedly had one of the first cameras. Americans like to believe that Thomas Edison, the guy from the light bulb, also invented the first camera, movie camera, right? French like to say it was these two brothers called the Lumiere brothers. It's hard to say. They came out about the same time. But it was when McKay was around. So the one brother figured out how to get the hold of one of these things. McKay would do a drawing. The brother, instead of shooting a long video, he'd just shoot a little. I guess it was more like this. So he'd just be like, whoop. And then McKay tossed the drawing, put another page down, and from memory, So this is like Zachariah's question. He'd literally just hand draw the next one. And the brother would take the camera, crank out a couple frames, and just keep doing it. That was probably about 8 drawings per second, which is like the least the eye almost accepts. By the time you get to 12 drawings per second, it looks pretty believable. Not smooth, but believable. So this is somewhere between 8 and 12. Let's see what they did that first round. I'm going to watch the short one right here with you. So I just want to point out a couple quick things. We may watch a little bit more, and it's easy to look up. I do want to say a few things. You know, there's a lot going on there that's interesting. Notice, for example, there's almost no shading at all. Shading is really hard to animate, you know, and then really for decades after, people wouldn't shade anything but the backgrounds because the backgrounds were pretty much left there. All the drawings would be done on a separate sheet, usually acetate, a plastic sheet. So you could still have all those mountains and trees and stuff in the background. So you could shade that. So really in the middle of the 20th century, all the way into the 50s, 60s, 70s, somebody might just be the background painter. Then they'd just be painters flat out because you can get as elaborate as you want. But Bugs Bunny wouldn't have any shading on him. You know, it would just, the background might. So this guy's already doing that. They're just a line drawing almost completely, which is worth noticing. Also, the background is shaking a lot, which makes me wonder whether he was really redrawing the background. Otherwise, it might have been still. It is also possible that they didn't use a tripod when they shot the drawings because it was the first one. So the shakiness of Gertie herself, I get, because even if they had all their equipment in line, he was just hand drawing this stuff. He wasn't tracing at all. He was not even parts of Gertie. Somebody made a movie of him drawing it, which is a little hard to find right now. And you know, he draws it and chucks it. You know, it's just, his mind was like a perfect visual memory. So he was able to do that without a light board or any kind of tracing. We're going to be working with layers, so our life's going to be a lot easier, right? I want to say a couple other quick things. Dinosaurs were new to most people's consciousness. You know, the dinosaur hunters of that point in time were fairly new thing. And even if there had been others earlier in the 1800s, there was no way for the average person to know about it, you know, until they could actually see them. So it's interesting that he's actually drawing a dinosaur. You wonder where he had access to that information to even make a cartoon out of it. Other things I'd like to mention to you about that year, which I believe was 1914. I could be wrong. Around that same time, Picasso does his first Cubist painting. So the public is starting to think out of the box. Sigmund Freud is the first famous psychiatrist. He wasn't really the first psychiatrist, but the first famous one. You know, the world was just going wild. Einstein was writing his first papers about relativity, you know, which actually changed the world about science and physics. It just was a crazy year, crazy decade, as well as World War I had to fit in there somewhere. I'm not really a historian outside of the arts. So pretty interesting stuff. All right, folks, I just wanted to make that point. I'm going to say a couple last things, let you all out. The sound was added later, right? As you could see, partially because of the cards that have the text, right? They obviously didn't have audio yet, which is why Steamboat Willie is 100 times more famous. A couple words about Disney. You know, I have a love-hate relationship with Disney. I got to be fair, it's more like a hate-love relationship. I have doubts about their politics from the beginning and their psychology all the way to now. At the beginning, the company was wildly racist, and I have to give them a lot of credit for not hiding it now. They openly admit it. On their 50-year anniversary, they released all the early movies, and the current director walked out and said, look, these things are shocking, and we're releasing them to be sure that people don't repeat this kind of stupidity. And I was like, wow, they could have just hid that stuff, but they didn't. They came out and said, this is wrong, but you can't deny the wrong parts of history if you don't want to repeat it. So if you ever have the nerve and you want to look up really early Disney, you know, look for their attitudes about race and culture, and put your helmet on, you know, because it could be you that's getting abused in this really old stuff.
We're already with like Songs of the South.
You know, I gotta say, I don't want to forgive the North, you know, even though us up north like to think we were always more evolved, maybe we were, maybe we weren't. But I had to say one thing about life in New York, which I just love. It's a little harder. We got our share of races here, let's be fair, right? But it's a little harder. Because here, you know, you're going to meet somebody who's not your kind, and they're going to be nice, and you're going to make friends if you have a half an open mind. And it is a little bit harder to go picking on anybody's group after you've already met some of them. It's really easy to pick on a group when you only know your own little group, you know? So these places where everybody's homogenous, they believe anything they're told because they don't have any experience of their own. Now, this is why I believe everybody should travel. You've got to go to other parts of the world to really just have a clue. I've been to places in the world where I was completely unwelcome, where someone just eventually realized that my own heritage is completely the villain in their country, and I'm not even allowed there, just slipped by somehow, you know, and I got very nervous. So Indonesia, I'm talking about right now. I really didn't realize that I wasn't technically allowed to even be there until I was there for like a month. And it was just like, I felt like going around telling everybody, well, meet me if you think my people are evil, you know. Hello. Funny. Weird. It's not really funny. But sometimes you have to laugh. How do I get started on this? Oh, Ira goes on tangents all the time. I'm going to have to back up. In any case, early Disney and racism and classism, etc. But, you know, Walt was a business person, and I don't know much about his individual politics, so I'm not even going to go there, but he figured out how to get sound in. You know, movies at that time, if there was sound at a movie, a live action movie, there was a musician in the theater with a piano playing in the theater, you know, and if they were voices, they'd be actors. So a little while for it to actually be recorded with the sound. So this is why Disney took over. You know, Winsor McCay didn't have an interest in becoming this other kind of artist. He just wanted to prove its potential, and then moved on because he was much more brilliant as a print artist, and he was able to tell his own stories in a much larger clip. So he kind of stayed there. But I'm a big fan of Winsor McCay, both in print and on film. All right. I'm going to just get a last look at the handout and say some farewells. I also want to see what's up with the website, why it's behaving so strangely. It's worth taking a peek at this last link. You might see some old TV show that you like, or, you know, right now, most of the TV shows you watch are mixed programs, so it's harder to get a list of what they're actually using. Animate, Toon Boom, After Effects, all figure largely. I'm not discussing 3D at all. This is a completely 2D class. I guess on the last note, I want to say something to those of you who are looking forward to 3D. I've been told that our communication design department is changing the path for our animators at school in ways that strike me as wise, that there's going to be a part 2 of this class. Somebody told me that the direction is, and I got to verify all this, so don't quote me on it, where people branch off 2D or 3D. And in a 2-year school, I think that makes sense because it's too much to do it all. So people take what they learn and they move into either of these 2 branches. In your life, I kind of wish you got to do a lot of different styles. I have an animation teacher who's a friend of mine. She teaches like 15 techniques first semester. And, you know, I think she's driving people to madness, but she's also kind of brilliant. You know, stop action and flip books and working in software and, you know, every different technique you could possibly think of. So this way you're kind of free after that to make your own choices. So I'm not here to sell anything to anybody, but I do want you to give this class a chance, figure out what it means to you on your road to your own endlessly maturing identity. You know, I'm double the average age in this class or triple the average age of this class, but my identity is also endlessly evolving. So I support that point of view largely. Folks, I'm going to sign off. I want to say a couple quick things to you before I go, just in the way of logistics. Timothy, if you wouldn't mind at some point, put in your whole name. It's going to help get to know you and may affect grades in some way. I may have more than one Timothy in my classes. You're going to confuse me.
Okay, no problem.
It's just helpful. Folks, I hope today's class was relatively interesting. Lectures are not really what you're here for. There will be some, never as long as this one. The goal is for everything to be ironed out by next Friday. I think we're in pretty good shape being Friday class. You know, whatever heck the technicians need to figure out to give us remote access should hopefully be completely ironed out. Would you all keep an eye on check your BMCC email over the week, surely at least a whole day before class, because if I can get you early instructions, I'm going to send them out through an email alert and an email announcement, if that's possible. Otherwise, we'll discuss it right in class, 9 a.m. next Friday. All right. I want to remind you, if you don't have a suitable computer, even if you have a Chromebook, please send me an email at the agreed email address. Ira, MMP260@gmail.com. I'm going to be checking that in an hour or two. I'm going to make a list.
Oh, Professor?
Yes.
Did you want us to send us an email send you an email so you have our emails written down? Or is that?
No, I don't need that at this point. I only want an email from people who don't have Mac or Windows.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
But let me know what you do have. If you have a Chromebook, please mention it. You know, because things change all the time, and it's possible that that could work. You know, I'm using it in my other class, so we'll see if it works for us. Our needs are a little more intense. So if you have a Chromebook, just tell me. But we still want to get you a Mac or Windows, ideally. If you have nothing, let me know. But please don't delay, right? Make sure you send it to me right after class so that I could get that list together and try to advocate on your part. You know, my boss said he's going to send instructions to give you as individuals how to request the computer. And as soon as I get them, I'll share them. But in the meantime, me knowing who you are is going to be helpful to you. Because next Friday, I have to get busy, rain or shine. We have to get started. I don't like the idea of some people getting to just watch without joining me. I really want you to be able to join me as soon as possible. All right, folks, I hope your first week went well. I want to wish you all a good weekend. If there's homework to do, may it go smoothly. If there's rest to do and fun to be had, I hope those also go smoothly. It's been really nice meeting you all, and I'll see you next Friday at 9.
Thank
Okay, thank you, Professor.
you, Professor.
Bye.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Professor.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody. If anyone has a last-minute question for me, just stick around. I'll wait a minute or two.
Oh,
Who asked, do we have homework?
those links at the end are we have to watch by the next class, right?
Yeah.
That's right. This homework is just to watch that stuff.
Okay.
Learn a little, get fired up.
Okay.
But there's typically homeworks every week. So there's a lot of homework in this class. Really, it's just a lot to learn. So
Okay.
as soon as we have the software, our hands are going to be on it for homework. Fair question.
Okay, thank you.
Bless you.
See you.
Why is that funny when you're in Zoom?
It
The
just
person
sounds
who
really
sees, for some reason, I'm saying thank you from 20 miles away. I guess that's
It's
different.
appreciated here. Thank you.
Gabriel's passing out just on time. Too, man. He's got his
No,
pillow.
actually, no, I was here the whole time. I just had to, because I came a little bit late, but I was here the whole time. I just put it on blog view. That's all happened.
Listen, guys, remember this for anyone who needs it, or if you have a friend who couldn't make it for whatever reason. The YouTube link is on today's handout. This video will be posted later, obviously. But by tonight, this whole class is going to be online. So, all right. See you all next week. Tiffany, you and I will make time to talk when we figure out how best to use your skills for our sake, right?
Okay. I mean, I want to speak with you after everything. Yeah.
All right. All right. So, guys, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, and I'm going to just share the space while we're here with Tiffany. You know, Tiffany, is there a better way for us to do this? Should we?
So I have my lab hours, right?
Okay.
And I was going to make a Zoom a Zoom meeting for anyone who needed some help using
I love
animation stuff, right? So,
You know what I want to do? Can I get those hours in an email from you, and I'm going to put them on next week's handout?
okay, cool. I put it in the chat.
Can you please
So
email
you
it
can
to
see
me?
it right now. Yeah, I can email it to you.
Because that's how I organize information. It's why the chat is just, for me, it's just an in-class thing. But
Mm-hmm.
send me the times, whatever you need for me to share with the group to make it rock solid. If you've got a Zoom link lined up.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I have the lab set up for times like every week because I have them on Wednesdays and Sundays. I put the link down and the meeting ID in the passcode so the students will know about it. And only thing I would say was just like send me an email telling me that you're gonna show up
Yeah.
beforehand so I know. And
Party if nobody
just-
comes. Yeah.
yeah, and I just give my email about
That's fantastic. Now I want that for every class.
it.
I wish you could do my MMP 100.
Aw.
They give that class a hard time. I have to go through a training with an assistant to have one.
Aw.
You have a different kind of status, and so we didn't have to do that. But that's
Okay.
great. All right, so send me that information. It's going on next week's handout.
All right, no problem.
Good to see you, Tiffany.
Nice to see you too. It's a good thing I still had your email on
Yeah.
bookmark.
Okay.
I bookmarked. I was like, wait, I'm gonna go check and see if this
So,
refreshed.
since a couple other people have waited, stuck around, Jacob, Naftali, Kayla, Benku, Harold, do any of you guys have a last minute question for me before I go?
No.
No? All right, so listen, if you think of anything, send me an email. Otherwise, I'll see you next Friday. It's been a pleasure meeting everyone. Thanks again, Tiffany, for your help in that new dimension in my class. Very excited about it. And I'll see you all next week.
Okay.
Bye.